Alicia, you think I should go ahead and get started?
Yeah, that's fine. And I think people will still trickle in
Yeah.
because it is lunchtime in some places. So
Okay. Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining today. My name is Derek Nguyen. I am a senior solution consultant at ServiceNow. I am joined by my mentor, Colin Ramoser, also a solution consultant in the federal space. And today we are going to talk about returning to work in the new normal and how ServiceNow can help with that. Uh, Hope everyone's ready. I know I'm pretty pumped. Been drinking green tea all day. So let's get this started. We're going to have some people trickle in. Just a little bit of housekeeping. Everybody that joins is, I think, by default on mute. If there is time for question and answer, we'll do that towards the end. If not, you can throw it into chat and hopefully Colin or I will respond or get you answers later. Okay, so first things first, returning to work in the new normal and how ServiceNow can help with that. So I'm not going to kill you with slides today, I promise. And let me go here. So it wouldn't be a ServiceNow demo without a little bit of architecture, but I promise this will go by fast. If you're not familiar with ServiceNow, wanted to sort of say why we are positioning ourselves to be the platform of platforms. Many of us work in the federal space, and your agencies have been collecting platforms and applications for a few decades now. So systems of record might look something similar to what you are seeing on the bottom, right? There's obviously you've procured a number of applications to serve certain business units, and that data is usually kept within that business unit. And sometimes those integrations between all these systems sometimes becomes a bottleneck. And that is where the ServiceNow platform can come and help. So what we do is we have hundreds of integrations built out of the box so we can easily aggregate this information into the Now platform. So we have one platform, one data model, and one architecture. From there, we can start to take advantage of the capabilities that are native to the platform. Obviously, I discussed integrations before, but we also, the secret sauce behind everything is these automated workflows. And I'm going to get into that in a little bit. We can take advantage of our CMDB, which is a logical layer for your configuration items. The knowledge base and service catalogs are very powerful tools to help empower your agency. So some of that knowledge that has probably been kept in emails or certain resources, if you're willing to put the time in to create content, the knowledge base can be very powerful for people as a source to go to with accurate and up-to-date information. And the service catalog is another item I'm going to demo in just a little bit. Also on the platform, we have machine learning, AI, and analytics, which is a really fancy way to say that we've enriched our reporting. Now we can give real-time insights and allow you to make data-driven decisions. Our web and mobile are very conversational usability, and it's very familiar. We're seeing that the training and learning curve to use it is often pretty low. And the last but not least definitely is our developer tools. And when we say that, we want to take advantage of our low code, no code ability in the platform. So we know that you no longer need a development staff to make configuration changes to the platform and make it really hum to your specific needs. We've built in low code configuration pretty much at every stop. So again, away with having a development team to make any changes to any existing applications built on ServiceNow. So on top of this layer, we have our workflows. And so we have three generic workflows that we think most agencies have, our IT, employee, and customer workflows. And if you imagine this, this is essentially a workflow engine that will allow work to be done across the agency. So no longer do you need to build separate integrations between all the systems of record below. You can imagine a workflow going across the agency, and many of these systems of record become just a pit stop in the workflow. So that's how we get work done. The last mission workflow that you see on to the right there is an example of customers that use our App Engine licenses. And from here, we can build specific applications, possibly for mission critical items for your specific agency, right? But again, these applications built on the Now platform can still take advantage of all the goodness that you see below. Okay, and so with that, we know that users all have a preference in how they want to interact with our platform. We have a mobile application, we have integration with SMS or text messaging. Obviously, we have service portals that can be found through web browsers, and we are browser agnostic as long as they are modern browsers. I think a lot of you have switched to using Google Chrome. And last but not least, in this world of post-COVID, the rise of conversational tools. I know that ServiceNow is a Slack shop, but many federal agencies have adopted Microsoft Teams. And in fact, our Microsoft Teams integration is so seamless, sometimes you don't even know that you're interacting with the platform. That's how great it is. And last but not least, for all you security folks out there, we are FedRAMP High. So our previous version of Paris is certified FedRAMP High. We released Quebec a few weeks ago, and I'm told that within a few weeks, we will have that certification for that build. No hard date just yet, but as soon as that gets done, I'm sure we're going to post a lot of information around that. Okay, and so that is why ServiceNow is the platform of platforms, and we're going to take advantage of that in the next few slides and build on that. So why we're here today, obviously I discussed the different workflows that come out of the box, but very generic to large organizations or agencies, right? We have IT workflows, that's sort of our bread and butter that we've kind of matured from. We have employee workflows and customer workflows. So today we're going to focus on employee workflows and more specifically, the safe workplace. Okay, so here is a slide depicting of sort of what we've gone through over the past year. So the workplace of the past was a very collaborative space. We were co-located, maybe even sometimes on top of each other in terms of cube farms and the like. You know, you could easily collaborate with people, bring them into meeting rooms. And then March of last year struck. There was a virus that plagued much of the US, and we were sent home, right? So the workplace of today is home, whether it's a home office, whether it's your living room. So, you know, many of you are probably taking this session from home. I know it's Friday and it's 12 o'clock. I know that I like to enjoy pizza on Fridays. Maybe you're having that for lunch, but I digress a little bit. So we're working from home today, and here's the problem statement, right? What does the workplace of tomorrow look like? And we know this needs to be some type of hybrid approach, but there's a few questions we need to answer, right? Is the workplace ready? Can we get the help we need from facilities? ServiceNow did an internal survey to see if we're ready. And I think most people are sort of itching to get back and have that human interaction, but obviously in some type of flexible way, right? So agencies need to adopt an approach that's going to put safety first. And we're going to do that by blending the concepts of social distancing, infection prevention, remote working, employee mobility, all into a hybrid workspace. And I'm going to show you how ServiceNow is going to help get us there. Okay, so you might be familiar with this. This was an Executive Office of the President memo, M2115. I'm not going to go over all these tasks, but the overarching thought was every agency would have a COVID coordination team or task force, and many of them would be tasked with some of the activities you see on the screen here. In addition to that, agencies should adhere to CDC guidelines with regard to social distancing, building occupancy, and the latter. Okay, so again, it wouldn't be a ServiceNow demo without personas. We usually attach functionality and information to personas. And so our first set of personas is leadership, executives, and supervisors, and how we are going to enrich their lives with new information, right? So we need to provide visibility across the entire agency on all COVID-related activities and metrics. From there, leadership can make data-driven decisions based on whether or not the agency is ready to return. And if you have returned, we need to continuously monitor to see if the workplace is truly staying safe. On the employee, contractor, and visitor side, we need to gauge if these employees are ready to come back. This can be done through surveys, and again, that's something I'm saving for later in the demos. And health check-ins, reserving workspaces. This is all functionality that employees, contractors, and visitors might need before they come back to the office. And the last set of people that we need to provide new functionality with is this new COVID-19 task force, right? Many of these employees might be doing things and activities that they haven't done before. They're going to be performing health screenings, managing sanitation activities, and possibly managing PPE inventory at your agency. So those are the personas we're going to hit, and while I take you on this journey towards a safer workplace. So we imagine 6 steps in coming back to work. The first is, what are we doing now? We're working from home, and we need to gauge whether or not employees are ready. So ServiceNow has out-of-the-box functionality with surveys, and you can easily configure a survey to gauge whether or not employees are ready, right? So you configure the survey, you define the questions, and then that allows us to gain insight into employee wellness and their overall ability or willingness to return to the office. Using the Now platform, surveys are available through the mobile application or possibly in the service portal, and the data will provide overall employee sentiment, right? What are people saying? Are they ready? And then the results can actually initiate workspace planning and possibly reservations. So as we prepare to return, there's a lot of stuff, logistical things that need to happen. At ServiceNow, we ask the question, can we use technology to configure the workspace, right? New workspaces need to be distanced socially. I don't know, depending on how your agency wants to define what is safe, maybe every other floor is opened up or every other bathroom is open. Again, that's for your agency to decide, but ServiceNow as a platform can handle all of those requests. We also need to display capacity and activities at each site. So we want to gauge, how the cleaning activity is going. What's the PPE inventory look like? And obviously we need to allow for reservations before people get to the office. And obviously these workspaces will be socially distanced. Okay, so let's say we're all ready and we're going to start having people come into the office, right? We need to be able to screen employees at the door and automate some of these entry tasks. I have this really cool demo set up. I hope it works, where we have a QR code to let the person at the door know that this particular employee is safe. And we need to make sure that sick employees stay home and do not get access to the building. In addition to that, depending on your agency again, are you going to keep a stock of PPE, and how are we going to manage that? Maybe you want to ensure that every employee has PPE before they enter, or as they enter, maybe they're given a mask or something like that. In addition to that, we need to provide that new COVID task force, right? We need to allow them functionality with ServiceNow to perform some of these health screenings. Okay, so what does it look like when we actually get back to the office, right? So obviously, again, the COVID task force needs to perform health and safety testing. We've given them some functionality to do so. Vaccination status, again, something your agency probably needs to define whether you want to retain the vaccination cards for people. Again, there might have a privacy concern, and unfortunately, posting your vaccination on Facebook or social media might not suffice in this scenario. So, but either way, ServiceNow can handle uploading of a picture of a vaccination card. And the last thing, I know it's number 5, but contact tracing is going to be extremely important. So I know in March of last year, most of us were sent home, right? But there was a lot of agencies that actually needed to remain functional and stay open. So contact tracing we saw at these agencies were often very manual, right? They were done in spreadsheets, emails, shared drives, and even in one instance, we saw a really large old school access database. And so that became pretty cumbersome to manage. So ServiceNow has some functionality that, of course, I'm going to demo in just a few minutes here on how we can sort of expedite those cases and come up with a way to display potentially exposed employees. So we're going to see that just in a few minutes here. Okay, so work on the go, right? I don't personally need to travel all that much, but we know once we start to resume normal and typical work functions, travel requests are going to be a big thing, right? So obviously in our service portal, we can have a requested item for a travel request, but we might go one step further, right? Imagine on this travel request, an employee writes in a destination. So ServiceNow can automate some type of workflow that says, you know what, let's take a look at that destination. Let's see what their COVID posture is. And again, setting a threshold defined by your agency. If it's on the rise by, I don't know, 5%, then maybe you automatically deny that travel request, right? Just kind of art of the possible in terms of what ServiceNow can automate. And last but not least, we're going to have the granddaddy dashboard of them all. It's the Safe Workplace dashboard. And this is really an aggregation of all the information I'm going to show you in the next few minutes while we demo this. But this is going to be a single real-time view of your organization's key metrics. And of course, this might be more on a management or leadership side. But again, they can make data-driven decisions based on all the information ServiceNow has aggregated. And this dashboard is really slick, right? We can overlay it with COVID-19 data sets like from CDC or Johns Hopkins. So I promised I wouldn't crush you with slides. That is it for now. Does anyone have any questions? Of course not. You are muted, but maybe you're entering some in the chat. We can get to those in a little bit. Okay, so now let's go into the demo. Here's how I'm going to split this demo out. I'm going to show you a bunch of dashboards that sort of point to all those journey steps I just mentioned. I'm going to take you through an employee experience, maybe using the service portal and maybe trying to gain access to a building. And then last, that task force, I'll show you how we've surfaced some of those tasks in our mobile experience. Without further ado, I'm going to jump into our dashboards. Okay, so the first dashboard you see is called the Emergency Outreach Dashboard. And if you're not familiar with ServiceNow, everything that you see on this page is completely configurable, but the dashboard in particular that I'm showing is out of the box. So we've created this, and this dashboard, the main focus is visually displaying the results of the surveys that you have sent out. So Again, this is a more granular level of information that the survey is giving us, but there's some useful information in here, right? Like how many users have been notified, what departments, what the breakout of departments is. Maybe, sales seems to be more engaged or interested in coming back to the office. Uh, if there are any questions on that survey that you want to visualize in a type of bar chart, we can do that. We can break down users by how they responded on certain questions. And again, if you're not familiar with ServiceNow, these dashboards are completely configurable. And anytime you get a big number like this or some type of visualization, we know that we can drill down into the actual platform view, and you'll get a table view of the data and details that way. Another interesting set of information here is, your engagement, like how many of your responses are being driven from the mobile application versus email. Let's say there's more adoption on the email side. Maybe you can trigger a campaign just to hit the emails of people. So that is what we're calling the emergency outreach dashboard. Obviously, each one of these containers, you can define the metrics that are displayed there. I'm going to skip over to something we are calling the overview of, and again, in this demo instance, I'm going to take a look at Seattle. So this is showing sort of the overall capacity of what Seattle has, right? It looks like the total capacity of workspaces is around 1,500. The total number of reservable spaces is a little bit lower. Maybe that's because of the socially distanced spaces. Today's reservations is at 36, and then we can start to look at that and trend it over time. Maybe you want to see the total capacity and the breakout of buildings. If you have multiple buildings at your campus, we can go ahead and do that. We can also see the cleaning tasks that are set up at this location. It doesn't look like there's any planned tasks in Seattle. And we also can visualize the requests. So any other workplace request, this could be like swapping a desk out or maybe changing a light bulb. Again, doesn't look like Seattle has any right now, but just the art of the possible in what we can show in this particular dashboard. Okay, and I'm going to jump over to, let's say we are having people come back to the office. This is called the employee health screen overview. And this is a very telling story, very Christmas theme. Again, we can configure that. I just noticed the red and green. But, we're seeing that, 113 employees have been denied entry, 441 have been approved. It seems like a pretty high number. Maybe we need to get some more communication out. Maybe the knowledge base needs to be built out a little bit more. But we can always drill down into this information. We can see the number of screenings that have been performed by day. It looks like more recently, nobody's really coming into the office, maybe because of this COVID surge. And also we can actually call out the employees that are being denied pretty often. It looks like Barton wants to come back to the office plenty of times when it seems like he's getting denied quite often. Maybe he's sick and still trying to come in. Again, maybe it's something we can educate him on. And so that is, again, another part of returning to the office is the employee health screen overview. Again, these dashboards are out of the box. So once you have Safe Workplace installed, you will easily see these in your instance. And PPE inventory overview, right? This is going to allow that new set of activities that needs to be done, right? Most people at your agencies haven't done this before. So we want to give them an easy way to manage PPE. Again, if your agency is so inclined to offer that. And each one of these numbers you're seeing is completely, we can drill down into them. So these are some big numbers that it seems like we care about over PPE consumables. It looks like 28 PPE items are in use. 2 PPE items are missing. So maybe we want to get to the bottom of that. I'll just click on that, and we're giving what if you're familiar with ServiceNow, this is sort of the instance view. It looks like there are some IR thermometers that have not been assigned, and that's why they're considered missing. I'm going to jump back to the dashboard. So yeah, overall, we're managing all the consumables, gloves, goggles, masks obviously are going to be a big thing. This site even has a PPE full body gown. That'd be pretty cool, I think, to walk around in that. But again, we're trying to make it easy for the newer tasks to be done, right? And the last thing I want to touch on is another way ServiceNow can automate things, right? So we have a functionality called a stock rule, which is really another automated way that ServiceNow can leverage what we have in the platform. So imagine a stock rule. Let's say your building has 4 floors and there are a lot of reservations for the upcoming day on the 4th floor, and we notice that PPE or masks are low on that floor. Let's say you define a threshold that says if it gets under a certain amount, stock or floor 2 seems to have a surplus of masks. Why don't we go ahead and automatically replenish floor 4 based on whatever thresholds you define? So just another way that ServiceNow can kind of step in and make this PPE management a little bit easier for your new task force. Okay, and a couple more, and then we'll get into the employee experience. But I wanted to show you this emergency self-report overview dashboard. A little bit of a wordy title. I think could have been, self-reporting dashboard. Anyways, so this is where maybe you're asking your employees to self-report. And in the service portal, which we'll see in just a few minutes here, we're going to have a way for a person to say, who they are and their current health status, right? Let's say somebody is newly reporting symptoms. So we'll go down here, and it looks like, most recently Enrique O is reporting symptoms. It was updated 4/15. So what ServiceNow will do is, because of that, will trigger a contact tracing case that will be created, and obviously a fulfiller or a caseworker can work on that. But I just wanted to show you what that would look like in our native view, right? So Enrique triggered a case by saying, he has symptoms, and we've automatically created a set of potentially exposed employees. And it looks like Mabel, Annie, and Roger are already under investigation. Our caseworker maybe has already reached out to them and let them know maybe they need to get tested and maybe they need to quarantine. But we are finding these potentially exposed employees with a number of data sources, right? We have different tracking systems. Whether or not you want to turn them on, that is up to your agency's discretion. We have badge data, Wi-Fi data, obviously meeting data. If maybe Annie and Mabel were in the same meeting in the office, maybe that's why they're on the list. And location data. Maybe they had reserved workspaces that were close to each other or close enough on the same floor, and that's why they're showing up on this potentially exposed contacts list. So again, this is a way that ServiceNow is going to try to expedite these contact tracing cases. Okay, so that's contact tracing, really important. We know some agencies are manually doing this in spreadsheets right now. Wanted to try to make this easier for these caseworkers. And the last dashboard is sort of what I referred to earlier as the granddaddy of them all, but it's an aggregation of all that information I showed you in the past few screens. So we have this sort of global overview, right? And what I said before is it's pretty slick. We can overlay COVID cases across the entire world and identify maybe some hotspots. And this information is being overlaid with CDC and Johns Hopkins data. So today I'm actually going to focus on Seattle, and we drill into that location. Looks like Seattle has 2 buildings that we know some information about. I'm going to click on this one, because I practiced. And so we're given a card. It says the employee readiness is at about 15%. So that's probably not the highest we want it to be. And maybe it's because there are different alerts. So somebody seems to might have COVID. There might be a contact tracing case. Maybe PPE is low. All of these sort of attributes and factors will count towards that readiness score. So let's go ahead and drill into that. And I'm taking to another really slick dashboard. Again, this might be for leadership, but anyone that has access to the dashboard can access this. And again, that employee readiness score is at about 15%. And I told you that many of the other factors will contribute to that score. So in the surveys, 54% are ready to return, maybe 38 are unsure. We're taking a look at the employee health status. This is self-reporting. 33% of the employees here are in quarantine. That might be what is driving down the employee readiness score. And we're also taking a look at the vicinity or the area of that office. It looks like there's 3 new deaths in this current area, 346 new cases, right? So all of these factors are contributing to that 15%. Hopefully, if we can start to manage that, we can get a higher score and possibly get people back in the office. Again, this dashboard here is about aggregation, right? So now we are plotting active contact tracing cases over time. And obviously, you'd want to see this dip down. It looks like there's 16 people that are under investigation right now. And we have 4 widgets that play really nicely off of each other, right? So again, aggregating information that we saw in the past, but we have, employee health monitoring, workplace reservations, PPE inventory, and cleaning activities, all in like an easy consumable way, where you can say, and maybe this is where we drive some value savings, right? Let's say reservations are dipping every few weeks or every few days. Maybe you can say that the capacity in a certain building isn't necessary, and you can maybe not open up a few floors, possibly saving you guys money, right? So again, you can start to look at your PPE inventory based on reservations. If it's spiking, and the cleaning activities obviously would have an inverse relationship there. Okay, that's it for my slick looking dashboards. I'm going to take you now into the employee experience. So I got this set up here. And what you're seeing now is the service portal. And I want you to be cognizant of something. I've logged in as Roger Saeed. And obviously this is a demo instance, so it looks very pretty. But again, this service portal is something that if you're a ServiceNow user now, you might have familiarity with. But I'll just take you on a little tour. We have this very big search bar, and it's going to act very similar to Google, right? So I'm going to be able to enter any criteria in here and get search results. We have a list of links that this employee can do. Obviously, this is all geared towards safe workplace. But remember, this can be commingled with what you have today in your service portal, right? But today we're focused on safe workplace, and many of these activities are safe workplace activities, okay? And then, so the real estate at the bottom, we have these little widgets, right? What we call widgets, and essentially these are predefined topics that you think are important for your employees to see, right? Maybe there is some type of announcement that the CDC has just made, or if you want to just maybe post an announcement for all your employees to consume, you can do that. I can see if Roger has made any workplace reservations. It doesn't look like he has. And we can have a widget that says, show me all of the surveys. So I'm going to go ahead and click on this. And this is an example of a survey that you might trigger and give to your employees, right? And this is what would automatically populate some of those other dashboards we saw earlier. just wanted to give you a little bit of a glimpse into what that looks like. Again, this is obviously a pretty short one. The length, all the questions you can predefine and set the survey up that way. I'm gonna go back home, and we're gonna let's say we Roger is interested in health. So I've just entered health, pushed entered, and I'm presented with a set of search results. And it's important to know, again, a very Google-like or Amazon-like experience. We have a list of results that are commingled, and we can actually drill down into them, right? Whether they're knowledge-based items or catalog items. We have predefined filters, which we call facets. So if we want to go ahead and drill on down to a certain filter, we can do that. For now, I want to show you this knowledge-based article. Remember, I said this is going to be possibly a really powerful tool for your agency, right? So again, a demo instance, we don't have a lot of content here, but imagine really empowering your employee with all the up-to-date information so they can consume it from the knowledge base, and they won't have to be emailing or calling in to find out what the policies and procedures for coming back to the office is. I'm going to go back to the home page, and we're going to play around with some of these requested items. I mentioned all this information will eventually feed into the dashboard. The first thing I want to look at, and obviously we broke all of these request items out so we could see them individually, but you can automate some and aggregate these links into, let's say you want to create return to the office workflow that can easily be an aggregate of some of these links together. So the first thing, let's say Roger wanted to schedule his arrival. He could go ahead and do that. I want to show you, let's say when he does that, maybe he reserves a desk. So I wanted to show you some pretty cool functionality here. Obviously, we are in the request item now. All this information here, we can define it. We can define fields, all low code out of the box, easily configured. So I'm going to go and say, I'm going to go to that Seattle office. I like Seattle today. If you're in the DC area, we have similar weather to Seattle today. Broadway seems like a good location for me. I'm going to say I'm coming in on Monday, and I'm going to be done on Monday as well. Or let's say I'm done on Tuesday. And I'm going to pick the building. So notice I picked a building with this mapped in moniker, and I'm going to pick the ground floor. So I want to show you what the art of the possible is. So we're using and leveraging a service from a company called Mapped In. So remember, these workspaces might be a little foreign to your employees. Maybe they haven't been to the office in quite some time. Maybe the workspaces that you have made available are not familiar with them. So Mapped In gives us a way to allow employees to see where they would go on the first day. And they can go in, they can zoom and say, you know what, I don't want to be near a bathroom. And I want to be in the corner here. So I'm going to go ahead and choose this space here. When they submit this request, that space will be automatically reserved for them. I'm going to go back out here. I'm not going to actually put that submission in. Okay, so some of the other things I wanted to touch on here is maybe your employee wants to request PPE ahead of time. Again, we can give a list of all the available consumables. Maybe they're running low on N95 masks. They can always request one from this area here. If you're familiar with the service portal, this is our service catalog. It's essentially an organized taxonomy of what services and activities you are offering, right? So many of them might be IT related. It looks like in this scenario, we are employee service delivery oriented here. Okay, so that is where they could go ahead and select the PPE. The next thing I want to show you is it's kind of a cool, actually, there's one more thing, right? So this daily context log is going to be pretty important. So remember, at the beginning of of COVID, I think if you were trying to enter a restaurant, they would have you put your name down. And this works very similar to that. So you can list out all the people that you had some type of interaction with. And this is another data source that can be pulled into that contact tracing case, right? So again, just another way we can ensure that that list of potentially exposed employees will be populated to its full capability. And again, that is at the discretion of your agency if they want to make you do that. Here is a travel request that I mentioned before. I'm not going to get into all of these, but you just see sort of the art of the possible, and we can break all of these new tasks out in a very easy to consume manner. So remember, we had that one dashboard where we were self-reporting things. If Roger had some type of symptoms or he was in quarantine, this is where he could self-report. Okay, so that is the employee experience, just kind of a high-level view of what is possible in the service catalog. I'm going to go over and to another employee experience, and I want to be cognizant. So it looks like I'm still logged in as Roger, but oh, it looks like I got a text message. Maybe it's my boss telling me I'm doing a good job with this demo. Okay, so let's say Roger has scheduled his arrival. He's reserved a desk. He's requested PPE, and he's ready to go back to the office. So he's going to do this health verification. He can do this through the service portal, or he can do it through the mobile application. For the purpose of the demo, let's go ahead and do it through the portal. And he's going to acknowledge, and he's going to read through. Nobody skips this stuff, right? He's going to read through everything that we need him to acknowledge. Make sure that he's not sick, and he's going to say, you know what, I am good to go. And he's going to get a QR code, and I'm going to log in. I just want you to know that I'm a very capable ServiceNow employee. The only application I have on my phone is the Now mobile app. Anyways, okay, so I'm going to log in, and if you notice, I am logged in here. If you see the top right or the top, it says you are Eliana Snyder, right? So Eliana Snyder is on that COVID task force, and let's say she's at the door and she wants to scan this QR code for Roger. So what we're going to do is we are going to place this here. It looks like we found Roger. I'm going to go ahead and click on him, and I'm going to search. And because he did his health verification, he is all set and he's cleared to enter the building. So that's kind of the cool part of, some of the new functionality we are enabling in the mobile application. Let me get rid of this browser tab here. I wanted to show you a couple things that Eliana can do from her mobile device here. Remember, we're giving them a way to capture and screen employees. So if she wanted to do that, and maybe Eliana has one of those missing IR thermometers, let's say, a person comes to the door. I'm picking on Abraham Lincoln today, and his temperature is good. So Eliana has fired that IR thermometer at his forehead, and 98, it's good, right? But Abe did not come with PPE. And again, with the discretion or definition of your agency, if they need to arrive with it, maybe we can say they don't have it, and unfortunately, Mr. Abraham Lincoln cannot enter the building today. Again, we can configure this either way, right? If we want to provide PPE for that person, we can go ahead and do that. And last thing I want to show you for today is, we can screen visitors as well, right? So obviously that's going to be a big part of the new normal, we don't know certain people. Hopefully you have to pre-register a guest or visitor. I can look up somebody. It looks like John Lennon was a predetermined guest. And I'm going to go ahead. Looks like it was pre-populated, all this information. Same type of workflow, right? Let's say his temperature was 99. I think that's in the realm of good. And Mr. Lennon was kind enough to bring his own PPE, and he is all good and he can enter the building. So again, this is just another way we are going to empower that new COVID task force to perform the new duties that they're assigned. Okay, so that is it for my demo. I know I went over a lot of stuff. I'm going to take you back to this slideshow because I worked really hard on this last slide. And I just, obviously it's lunchtime. It's on a Friday. So I want to say I appreciate you joining us for today. And if you have any questions, I'm not sure if there's been any in the chat. Maybe Colin has been answering them, but all the information you have is probably in that Caresoft invite. But if you're at an agency and you feel like this is something you could leverage, by all means, contact your account team and we can set up a demo. We can even, obviously, we'll drill down into more of the functionality. I had to do a lot of high-level demoing here, but again, we can always drill into it, and there's a lot of experts out there. So with that, I am done. My mouth is pretty dry. Alicia, did we have any questions?
I did not see any come through. So yeah, just reach out if you have any questions beyond this and we'll follow up.
Okay.
Looks like I
got done a little bit early. This recording, we are recording this and we'll post it. Make sure to tell your friends what a great job I did. Thank you.
Thanks, Derek.
Okay. Appreciate everybody's time. See ya.